They stand for nothing. We don't have two political parties there, with a few exceptions in both parties. We have one big government party with a Democrat wing that likes war and taxes and individual welfare, and a Republican wing that likes war and deficits and corporate welfare, and they both will rub each other's backs to stay in power. That's what unified people around Joe Biden last night. It was enough to turn your stomach.
What did he say about the Ukraine war? Anything?
Yes, he did. It's a war to save civilization. It's a war to save the dignity of America and Europe. Joe, I defy you to tell Gerald or me or anybody watching us now how American lives, property, or national security are at stake in this war. Joe, what is your goal? Is it removal of the Russian army and Russian citizens from Crimea? That's impossible. Is it removal of Vladimir Putin from office? Well, that'll start World War III. Are the Russian soldiers and Russian citizens in Crimea or Vladimir Putin in office even remotely a threat to the United States of America? Joe, tell me how. He can't answer this stuff.
And what was the reaction from the Repulsivkins when he talked about the war?
They love it. They love war. It's the Lindsey Graham crowd. You were quite right earlier. I don't know what Senator Graham's personal history is. I think he's in the Air Force Reserve.
Yeah,
I think he's a general in the Air Force Reserve. But be that as it may, he, like his mentor, the late John McCain, never met war or somebody else's blood that they couldn't cheer about. The Republicans are falling in line. There's a group of Republicans. They were the ones that initially opposed the speakership of Kevin McCarthy. They're all against the war, but that's only a handful. That's only 20 of them. The overwhelming majority of Republicans in the Congress are in favor of this war. And of course, presidents like war because presidents like to kill. They kill because they can. It's killing they can get away with.
You know, this is satanic, what you just said. I mean, if a murderer goes in and kills a bunch of people, that's big news. But presidents could kill millions and they're saluted for it.
Correct.
As I said, you know, I did an interview with Colonel McGregor. And at the end, he said, you know, God bless America. And I said, what God would bless America for their wars? This isn't a God. This isn't what God preaches. And all these clowns, like I said, like a Biden claims to be a Catholic, a devout Catholic, a practicing Catholic. You don't practice war as a practicing Catholic if you believe in the Prince of Peace.
Right.
You know, Jesus Christ. You know, I'm not promoting one way or another. I'm just saying what hypocrisy it all is.
Correct.
And there's no blowback at all. The media is totally pro-war. They don't have anybody on speaking about peace.
Correct. Media, according to McGregor, and according to our other friend Phil Giraldi, is totally in the hands of the CIA and the MI6, by which I mean MI6, the British intelligence, CIA, the American, theoretically foreign intelligence, even though we know they spy on us domestically in violation of their charter and numerous federal laws, are both feeding information to the media in order to get the pro-war, pro-government, anti-Russia message out, even in, of all places, Fox News, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post. So that's basically what we hear. The peace message is being heard on places like your podcast and mine and the podcasts of other anti-war, pro-peace, pro-small government libertarians, but it's not anywhere in the mainstream media. McGovern and our other colleague, Gerald, Scott Ritter, have said over and over again, the war is over. Ukraine cannot win. And yet the West is still supplying material. It came out over the weekend that Poland considered annexing the western part of Ukraine and calling it a Polish protectorate. and then coming up with the ruse that if Putin attacked anything there, would be attacking Poland, and that would trigger Article 5 of the NATO treaty, and that would make all of Europe come into war. To think that the president of Poland actually wanted this to happen, to think they were going to take over Ukraine and call it a protectorate, to think that they would have done this to orchestrate World War III. Where are American troops? The 101st Airborne is in Poland. What is it doing? Training with 90,000 Polish troops in Poland. Where are they located? About 10 miles from the Ukraine. Are they playing chess? No, they're at the ready. 24 hours across the border. That's a hair trigger. We're a hair trigger away from American boots on the ground and a real European war like we haven't seen since 1939.
You know, again, the media, a couple of things. They hire people from government. The facts are there. There's one after another. They get out of government and they go into the media. And number two, about what we're talking about, how the media keeps promoting the war and the lies that Russia is losing. Although they have some 20% of the land that they didn't have before the war began, and the other issue that they destroyed well over 50 to almost 70% of Ukraine's power and energy infrastructure. But here's the headline from Yahoo News. This isn't ancient history. This is 4 days ago. Putin inventing, quote, new type of military after Ukraine liquidated almost his entire army.
That just
Russian dictator Vladimir Putin has begun to invent a new type of military because his entire army has been nearly liquidated by the armed forces of Ukraine. You know who they quote? Ivan Kryshchyaksky, whoever, quote, an expert writing for the Ukraine Defense Express military news outlet. Oh, okay.
Well, Ivan is obviously saying what President Zelensky wants him to say, but there's no truth whatsoever in that. Putin has between 300,000 and 500,000 troops who will begin the long, slow, inexorable, unstoppable march into Ukraine next week.
Now let's go
there by the 24th, which is the, they like anniversaries over there. He wants them there by the 24th of February, which is the anniversary of the start of this conflagration.
And again, these clowns, these media whores, these prostitutes, they never wrote about Bush's losing wars.
Right.
They never wrote about the 20 years almost in Afghanistan. They didn't say how defeated Putin or Bush was. But anyway, and these are the same military experts that are giving us the advice. This is from the New York Times yesterday. Russia-Ukraine war. As Russia amasses troops in East, questions remain about its ability to sustain an offensive. This is from Business Insider yesterday. Ukraine says Russia faced its deadliest day in the war yet, with over 1,000 troops killed in a 24-hour period. Ukraine says, how about Mickey Mouse told Donald Duck?
There you go. It's the same level of credibility. And as we speak, President Zelensky is in Great Britain. I didn't know this. Great Britain is the second largest supplier of military material to Ukraine. I thought it was Germany after the U.S., but it's not. It's Great Britain. So they have that same pro-war, let's draw other people's blood attitude that Joe Biden and the globalists and the American State Department have.
You mean the British, where the sun never set on the British Empire? That British? The British that a study just came out and said when they occupied India, over 163 million people died because of what they did there. That UK, the UK, with an inflation rate of about, I think it's about 10.5%.
I think you're right.
And the people are starving and the country's falling apart and they're sending all this money to go fight war. Oh, and you
Correct.
talked about, you opened this up with your article about talking about, the American Revolution. And now the Americans have become the English way, the
Yes.
murderous English way. The
Yes.
sun never sets on the American empire. You think we'd be in Ukraine or care about it if we didn't need their titanium and all their other natural resources? And because we want to keep Russia down as we have been doing since the end of World War II? You think we would have invaded Iraq if their major export was broccoli?
Knowing how the Bushes hate broccoli, you're exactly right. And when you said the sun never sets on the British Empire, the sun never sets on the American military empire.
Yep.
Because we have 903 military installations around the world. There isn't a single human being that can name or identify all of them, but it's a string all around the world. And by the way, we're beefing up our military installations in Taiwan and in the Philippines. Again, getting ready for Joe Biden's war. He wants a bloody war to start before the election of 2024 because that's the only way he believes he can get reelected. Unless, of course, the Republicans are stupid enough to nominate Donald Trump, then Joe wins in a cakewalk.
Again, it's the, as I say, when all else fails, they take you to war.
Right.
And that's what they're doing. And again, that clown, as you mentioned, more bases in the Philippines, 4 more bases in the Philippines.
Right.
That arrogant guy who the general, I wonder how many people he killed in Iraq as General Lloyd Austin, that then became sitting on the board of directors of Raytheon, the second largest defense contractor, is now our Secretary of Defense. It's not a revolving door. It's an open door of crime. Judge,
Yes.
Thanks so much for being on today. And thank you for all the knowledge and the wisdom and inspiration that you give us. And I appreciate it so much. And so does everybody that's listening. So thank you. And we'll see you next.
Always great to spend time with you, Gerald. All the best.